Hello and welcome to another episode of Starside Chat. I am one of your hosts, Aaron, and with me as always is Zach. How's it going, Zach?
Pretty good. I'm pretty excited, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got some games to talk about, and I do have a little surprise for you.
Whoa. Should we
I don't
get
know
to
if-
it up at the top?
I mean, we can. I don't know if you want to dive into this particular topic yet, but I have been playing Elden Ring.
Whoa!
So
Let's
can
talk about
talk
it.
a lot more about that this week. I don't know if you want to do the news first or if you want to just dive right into Elden Ring.
Let's, I guess, let's do the news first, because we'll
Okay.
already talk about Elden Ring a bunch.
Okay, yeah, that could be a long conversation, so...
They announced a new Pokemon game, I guess is the biggest news.
Yeah, so this happened like the day after we recorded our last week podcast, and we were talking about like what Nintendo was going to do towards the end of this year.
That's true.
And well, it turns out this is it. Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet is what they're going to have.
Yeah, they just did a random live stream on a Sunday in America. And at the end of it, they were just like, take a look at this. And it's it's a new Pokemon game. People speculate that it's in kind of like a Mediterranean or a Spanish area.
Yeah.
They showed the new starters.
It's supposed to be open world?
It looks like it takes a lot of cues from Arceus, in that it does look like it's not going to be as like routes you have to walk down. But who can say? I mean...
Is it too much Pokemon in 1 year?
I don't know. That's a good question, because Arceus, I guess, was a different team, and so they were just working concurrently on both of these things.
Yeah, so we had the remake of what was it, Diamond and Pearl? Is that the right?
Yes,
I
believe
towards
that is
the end
correct.
of last year, and then a couple months later they had Arceus, and now at the end of the year it's a brand new Pokemon game. It's a lot of.
It
Pokemon.
is a lot of Pokemon.
It's a lot of Pokemon within like a 12-month span.
Which one of these starters is the one that you would go with?
I like the duck.
I also like the duck.
It might be the duck. Quaxley, I believe, is
Quaxley,
what it's
yes.
called.
What I always love to speculate on is how insane the second
evolutions are going to be.
evolutions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what are these things going to look like after they've evolved twice?
Yeah, so the other
and
starters are, there's a grass cat Pokemon named Sprigatito, and a fire croc named Fuecoco.
Fuecoco, yeah.
The idea of a fire-breathing crocodile does seem rather appealing to me as well.
Do you think any of these... The duck, I think we can speculate will just be a duck, but bigger.
Sure.
But do you think the crocodile or the cat will eventually be on two legs, like a human?
I mean, the croc at its base form is already on two legs, so
Basically, yeah,
very
that's
possibly it could just look like a T-Rex by the time it's done evolving. I tend to favor fire or water Pokemon for my starters. I pretty much never go with the grass one, because it seems like the grass one's a little harder because they're so weak to a lot of things that you encounter even like early on in the game, because you're always like coming across like bug Pokemon like early on in the game. Yeah. And it's weak to that, but also like fire Pokemon it's weak to. So
what was your starter in Sword and Shield?
What were the starters in Sword and Shield? I don't even remember.
There was the bunny, there was the fire bunny, and then the sad lizard, the crying lizard, and then the grass monkey with the drums, Grookey.
I went with the sad lizard. I remember that now. It was the water one, because he had this like snipe shot power that was like very strong that I remember using a lot. And then I guess you get one in Arceus, but you're like swapping Pokemon in and out so much that it's like not really much of a thing.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they're finally getting to where everybody wants Pokemon to be.
Yeah.
And I am just like increasingly less and less interested in the franchise. Like I got Arceus thinking, oh, this is going to be the thing that gets me back into it. And I thought it was great. I liked what I played of it, and I thought it was a very good like step in the right direction for the series. But I just like I had no appetite for it once I started it. I was just like,
yeah,
I don't know.
They also announced like an update for Arceus, the Daybreak update, which was like day and date. They were like, it's available later today.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
I like when they do that.
Yeah, I love like when the announcement and the release date happen to be the same time. It's a nice surprise. But moving on to the next thing, this is something I like because I liked the game Young Souls. This is a game, I put up a video on our YouTube channel about Young Souls, but this is sort of a brawler, a beat 'em up RPG game that came out exclusively as a timed exclusive for Stadia last year. It is releasing on PC and console this month, and it is getting a physical release through a limited run if you like physical releases as opposed to digital downloads. But Young Souls and Guardians of the Galaxy and a new game, Far Changing Tides, are all coming to Game Pass this month, which was, I thought, a pretty good lineup of additions to Game Pass.
Far Changing Tides looks very interesting to me. I have almost bought that Far Tide Lone Sails or whatever the first one was called a bunch of times, but I just have not pulled the trigger on it. I think it's like $2 on Switch on the Nintendo eShop right now. It's like $2.99 or something. But I just have not had time or the interest to play it. But Far Changing Tides looks like it's like expanded a lot on the formula where you're like leaving your little craft a whole lot, and it looks really interesting to me. But I don't know. I keep going back and forth. I should get Game Pass. I just have not done it yet.
Yeah, it's a really good value. I've played a good number of games on it since I got it last year, and they keep adding like good stuff to it. Especially like I liked Guardians of the Galaxy quite a bit when I played it last year. So if you've got Game Pass, that would be one to check out for sure. Same with Young Souls. So they've got some interesting stuff on there. They also added Microsoft Flight Simulator, which you can play apparently in the cloud as well. So if you do that, that's something to check out. I've heard good things about Kentucky Route Zero. That's another one they added.
Yeah. I've also heard that's really good.
So pretty good lineup for Game Pass this month. Another interesting thing, I want to jump down to this Amazon Luna now being available.
Yes, I saw this.
For Prime subscribers. You think you'll check this out at all? Are you you're a Prime subscriber, right?
Oh yeah. I live right next to a distribution center, so frequently I will order something and then it comes by like the same day at 9 p.m.
Really?
Just because I'm right next to it.
That's awesome.
So I will continue to be an Amazon. And also, I mean, I haven't finished The Expanse yet, so that's in my backlog. But I enjoy being an Amazon Prime member, even though they keep upping the prices. And I don't know if I will check this out.
That made me wonder, did they up the price because they knew they were going to roll out Luna as an added benefit, but they didn't want to say that for the people that don't play games, oh, by the way, you're also paying for gaming now. So they just like upped the price as like a standalone announcement and then later added gaming.
I wonder how it will be compared to Stadia. And I also don't know, like, can I cast Amazon Luna stuff to a Chromecast? I don't think so, right?
I doubt it. I feel like you'll need a Fire Stick for that.
Pass on that. So I can pretty much only play it on my computer. But
you
I
could
might
play it on
check
your
it out.
phone. You could play it on your computer. But yeah, I don't want to have to get a Fire Stick in order to play it on my TV.
Agree.
But yeah, you can definitely just play it on your computer, and that's just like another source of games that you have access to since you're already paying for Prime.
I looked at the current lineup of free games, and there was nothing that jumped out at me as something I super want to play right now. But if something does come there, let's see, they've got like Devil May Cry 5, which I played a little bit of and it was fine. Flashback. I don't know what that is. But like if something cool comes on here, I would definitely check it out and play it on my computer. But for now,
yeah,
it's interesting,
it's
but
a similar
not important,
story to Stadia, where it just like it needs time to cook a little bit, and they need to like build up the library before there's like some stuff that's super interesting to me. And like I don't know that Amazon has like, I mean, obviously they do have their games division that like makes games, but weirdly, I don't think New World or Lost Ark are on Luna.
No, I don't think so either. It's just weird.
It would seem to make a lot more sense for them to launch those as like games that you can play with your subscription on for Prime on Amazon Luna, but call me crazy. I don't know. So that seems like an oversight, but another thing to hop back to, Call of Duty is taking a year off for the first time in 17 years. I don't know that this is like because of the Microsoft acquisition, or if this is just like a sort of thing that just happened to coincide as sort of a coincidental thing.
I don't know, because it's like 2 or 3 different teams, right, that all rotate and they put out a Call of Duty each year, so they're all concurrently working on them. So one of those teams, I guess, has been retasked in some way, and they're basically been told, you know, well, we're not going to release something. Because, I mean, you would think if they were planning on releasing it this year, it's already been in development for at least 2 or 3 years.
Right.
I mean, they do pump these things out, but I guess they're just... I don't know what the plan is. Maybe they're retasking them to another game, or maybe they really are going to be like, well, we don't need like 3 different studios doing this. We can just consolidate this now that we're owned by Microsoft, and it can be like every 2 years or something. But it's interesting. I haven't played a Call of Duty in a very long time, so it doesn't super affect me, but I know people are always looking for... I mean, there are a ton of YouTube channels which are basically only about Call of Duty and like Call of Duty news.
Yeah, I'm... It's been many years since I played a Call of Duty campaign, but I have like dabbled in the multiplayer of, I think it was Black Ops 4 and the remake of Modern Warfare that they did a couple of years ago. And I thought those were cool, but it was just like more Call of Duty, you know what I mean? So I'm curious where they go with this. And to your point of like these developers have been like, they're pumping them out, so they're constantly sort of on the grind working. So each release has already been like, every time it's a new Call of Duty every year, you're like, oh, how are they doing this? Well, it's because like a different developer's doing them, and they've been working on it for the last 3 years. Because of the rotation. But that makes you wonder if they can take, like, when Microsoft bought them, did they have a game in production? They were like, stop what you're doing. We're gonna move you. cancel Call of Duty. I don't know.
I think that probably is what happened, because there's no way there wasn't one geared up to be this year.
Right.
Microsoft must have come in and been like, the answer is no. Yeah. You have to stop.
They came in like, it's enough already. You guys can stop. I'm sure more info about that and how all of that went down will come out eventually, but right now we can just speculate on it. But
do you have any interest in this Ghostwire Tokyo? You have a PS5, so you could play this on console.
It's coming out on PS4
it a console exclusive?
As well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a console exclusive for PlayStation. I think, is this... I always mix these up. This isn't a Bethesda joint, is it?
Is it?
Is this one of those weird, like, Microsoft owns them, but they had already... Yeah, it's published by Bethesda.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of those weird, like, it had already been decided that it was going to be a PlayStation exclusive, but Microsoft owns Bethesda, and so that's kind of a weird thing. But
it's getting a visual novel prequel?
Yeah, so I don't know a whole lot about this, but I think it's interesting. It's supposed to focus on the main character, and it's supposed to take place 6 months before the events of the game. It was announced on the PlayStation blog. Does this game release on March 25th, the same day as Kirby Forgotten Land?
Ooh.
That's crazy. I did not think it was that early.
February and March are packed for some reason every year.
Well, for sure this year because everything got pushed back.
Yeah.
But no, I think this game looks interesting. I probably will play it, but I think if it also comes to PC, which I think it is, I may play it on PC instead of PS5 just because it's a first-person game.
Yeah, that makes sense. Or on your Steam Deck.
Ooh, on my Steam Deck. Well, actually, I don't think I will get my invite to actually buy one until the end of April, I think was the time frame.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's something that maybe I could play on my Steam Deck at some point. I've been watching some cool videos on that too, not to get too sidetracked, but I think it was IGN put up a video about 7 different things that you can do on the Steam Deck that is not gaming. And they were talking about how you can basically plug it into a dock and use it as a work computer if you had to. And they had downloaded Chrome and Spotify, and they had used it to work on the script for the video that they were making about it. So I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that it is basically just a computer that you can take portably and play games with. But
I'm into it. That's my favorite part about it.
Yeah, it's very cool. Especially for sure but even I will have to think about upgrading my computer in the next couple of years, and
it's true.
It might just be
especially with Starfield coming out.
Yeah, and it might just be a thing where I can just use my Steam Deck instead.
That would be very cool, and that would make me buy one. I mean, I have to see.
It may not be the super high end experience that you would get with a normal desktop computer, but I mean, it opens the door.
It does, for sure. Did you know that Epic Games bought Bandcamp this week?
I did see that. I own music through Bandcamp, so I thought that was pretty cool. It seems at least from what I read, Bandcamp actually released a little statement about it, and they said that they're going to still be working independently. But it will allow them to sort of expand Bandcamp internationally, and it's supposed to help them improve their website and their app and everything. So that's cool. I'm into that. I don't know how else that'll go. I guess it'll just be owned by Epic Games now, and it'll just be this sort of invisible layer that nobody really has to think about.
Epic, I mean, they keep doing these big concerts in Fortnite.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe they were like, let's streamline this and also have a music distribution platform that we can incorporate into. I mean, that's just what I was thinking.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I didn't think about that when I read this news. That it probably is from Epic's side of the deal, what they were thinking when they made the purchase. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know where it's going, but as long as they can improve their app, I think their app needs a little bit of work. So I'm into that idea for sure.
I have 2 things I want to talk about briefly.
Okay.
So we talked last week. I had been having some trouble getting into Elden Ring, and I told you I was going to play more. And then I played more, but then I just stopped playing, and I watched a bunch of analysis videos about Hollow Knight Silksong. People who had taken the 30-minute gameplay demo from the 2019 E3 and just made tons of videos speculating about what the game could be. So I have a bunch of Hollow Knight recommendations in my YouTube. And I think because of that, I got a recommendation for this Crowsworn game, which I think is on Kickstarter. And it appears to be just a Hollow Knight clone, but in all the best ways. It looks very similar artistically, but you have a gun.
Oh, yeah, it does.
And it looks super cool.
This is not the same developer. They just basically used what appears to be the same assets, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. You even have a dive that you do that looks very, very similar. But I would play this game because I love Hollow Knight now.
Yeah.
So I thought I would highlight that. Also, you had some trouble with your computer before we started recording, and so I was just like looking around for more news to put in, and I saw this article about Brutal Hell Royale, which is basically that thing I was talking about. I think when we did that video for man, what was that demo we did a video on for that like old style shooter? Man, what was that called?
Not Ion Maiden.
Not Ion Maiden. It was the one where I had an axe and I was like chopping people's heads off.
Oh yeah, I remember that, but I can't recall the name of it.
Not important. But anyway, in that video, I was like, man, what I really want is a battle royale in like this old style of like build engine type of thing.
Cultic.
And Cultic, that's what it was, yes. And Brutal Doom Royale is that thing. It's in development. They're still like but they had a 1.0 release. And I haven't checked this out yet, but Brutal Doom we did a video on forever ago is basically a total redoing of like Doom and Doom 2 with like a bunch of crazy weapons and like physics they put into the engine somehow. And a bunch of like different moves and interesting things you can do, bots you can put in there. And somebody created a way to have a battle royale within Brutal Doom. And the link I posted is to like the video page of the mod, and it looks crazy. So I think after this, at some point today, I'm going to check it out and I will report back. But this is exactly, I mean, it's obviously not its own things. It's just a mod for Brutal Doom. But I think it opens the doorway for other things that look like this. Like a build engine battle royale, I think is a very cool idea. I don't think this is the build engine, but it's something that I'm very interested in.
Yeah, we should do a video on this. You should record some gameplay. And
I tried to get it working while I was waiting for you, and it is a little bit finicky because I don't understand how like Doom WADs work and like Doom Seeker and things like that. So I will have to watch some tutorials just to like get this actually working because it's built on like super old bones. But if I do get it working, I'll record some gameplay and we'll talk about it.
Well, so do we want to talk about games that are out this week before we dive?
Yeah, just briefly. I watched a little bit of gameplay of Shadow Warrior 3, and it looks fun. It's like very beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
And it does look like it's taken a lot of cues from Doom and Doom Eternal as far as like doing executions and stuff, and it seems cool.
Yeah, that's what I thought of when I saw it too. It looks like sort of an Asian themed version of Doom, but with a main character that's kind of like Deadpool, where he's just kind of constantly joking and quipping and stuff like that. I have not played these games before. You played Shadow Warrior 2. I don't know that it's a thing where you need to have played the previous ones.
I don't. Well, it does seem like a lot of characters have come back from the original ones, so probably you do need to play at least the reboots, but not like the super old ones that are again like build engine games.
I think I saw Shadow Warrior 2 might even be on like Game Pass.
Probably it came out a while ago.
Yeah. But I agree. It definitely looked very beautiful, and it seemed like fast and smooth to play. The next game that is out this week, as we're recording, is a game called Dawn of Monsters, which I have played very little of. I've played the first like few missions. It's out for just about everything. It's on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Stadia, and I believe PC as well. And it is also getting a physical release through Limited Run if you want to go that route. But it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up where you're playing as kaiju, basically, and it's got a very comic book looking presentation and art style to it. I kind of like the look of it. It's interesting for that. I'm like, beat 'em ups are not necessarily my genre, but I think it's kind of a cool game, so worth checking out, especially if you're already like a Stadia Pro subscriber. This is the kind of game
no reason not to.
I can see coming to Game Pass eventually, so maybe hold out for that as well. But look it up for sure, just because the art style is worth checking out.
Okay, let's get into it.
Okay, Elden Ring. So
what class did you start as?
I started as a samurai, and I have wondered whether I made the right choice or not. But I have stuck with it so far. I've also wondered if I'm making the right like level up choices when I put like assign points. But I had sent you a video earlier this week from Boomstick Gaming where he kind of went through like a quick route that you can take as soon as you start the game, basically, that will allow you to get like a bunch of items and like it'll allow you to level up and upgrade your weapon and a bunch of like super necessary things that you want to have, like summons and stuff like that. And it's like a super easy route to take throughout like portions of the map, and you don't even have to fight anything in order to like get all the stuff. And so I did that, and so I have like a pretty good start for my character, but like I need to learn like everything. It's one of those things where like it's like trying to learn a Monster Hunter game where like there's the menus are a little bit dense, not as dense as Monster Hunter menus. Like that game is just like menus on top of menus on top of menus, and it's super dense and hard to parse. But it's a like you were saying you were having trouble like parsing the combat. I think I'm in the same boat with you. It feels, I don't want to say clunky, but maybe a little clunky.
Slow.
Yeah. Well, and so the part I'm on right now, I have only taken out 2 bosses, and none of them were the main bosses. They were just like, one of them was like a pretty easy like world boss where it's like a skeleton guy and like a boat, like a boatman or whatever.
I saw that one. Yeah.
He was not too difficult to kill. And another one, there are these like catacombs that you can go into, and like the final boss of those, they're kind of little dungeons that you can go through. The final boss of them is like this like cat sculpture creature that kind of comes to life.
I have fought that cat as well.
I've defeated one of them that you can find fairly early on in the game, and I saw there was another one somewhere else, and so I'm on this other one, and have died a bunch of times and have not completed it yet. But I want to force my way through it, which I've also heard is the wrong way to play Elden Ring. The general consensus seems to be don't bang your head against bosses. If you like encounter one and you can't beat it, just go the other way and just explore somewhere else.
Level up a little bit.
But I also like watched, so there's a YouTuber that I have sort of followed off and on, mainly over the years for Destiny content, named Esoteric, who's like super good at like pretty much every game he plays, and he does these like no commentary. It's just like, here's him soloing this like really difficult Destiny content, or here's him soloing a boss fight in Elden Ring. And I watched him do it, and of course he makes it look super easy. But it allowed me to kind of get a sense of like what some of the patterns of the boss are, and I understand the patterns of the boss, but like actually performing it without like dying is still like super difficult. And I think it's because I haven't quite worked out timing of like dodges, because you get invincibility frames when you dodge, but like it's not always clear to me where the moment of impact is when an enemy attacks you. So the cat boss at the end of this catacomb is like, he does one, like he does some like range stuff with like magic, but he also does these 2 different types of physical attacks, where one of them he like stands up on his hind legs, walks over to you, and like raises up his melee weapon, and in an instant, like blink and you miss it, it's already on the ground, having done like a ton of damage. And so it's hard to figure out when to dodge on that one. And then there's another attack he does where he moves towards you and then does like a ground pound that has this like sort of AoE effect. And for the life of me, I cannot dodge the AoE. Like, I don't know when it's about to hit me. And I feel like I'm timing it correctly, but I still take a ton of damage every time it happens. And so I
wish there was more. I wish there was more of like feedback where like this is what you're doing wrong, or like these are the reasons why this isn't working. Because like I feel like you can play this over and over again and you might get better, but it's just going to be, I don't know, it's like not as satisfying. Conversely, not to always talk about Hollow Knight, but I bought it on PC and started playing it again on PC. And I went through the first like couple of areas and I didn't even get damaged. Like I did the first like 3 boss fights and I didn't get damaged at all. And each of those boss fights I died like 15 times on. Like the first time you fight Hornet, I was a wall where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to beat this game. But this time it was like child's play, just because I had played the game so much and I'm not good at it, but like I'm much better at it now. I understand. Exactly, because that is a game where like tells for enemies are very easy to memorize, and like it's consistently, oh, if I dodge right now, like hitboxes make sense to me. But I feel like with Elden Ring and other Souls games, you're constantly just like in the polygons of the thing that you're trying to fight, just like whipping at their ankles, and it's like confusing to me how to dodge things, because like I don't know. I tried to, so I was going around and I found a place where you can like farm a bunch of runes. And to do this, I'm sure you've seen this video since you've been watching a lot of Elden Ring stuff, but there's like a ball that you can juke out of the way of. Do you know what I'm talking about?
They explode?
There's like a big ball, so you have to go to this one. If you go to this teleporter, it'll teleport you to this place that's like high level. So you do that, and then you go to a site of grace, and then you can go down this pathway on this cliff. And after you go down this pathway for a little while, a big ball will spawn behind you and will start to roll towards you. But if you like juke out of the way of it on your horse, like double jump to the left a little bit, it'll just fall off the cliff, and then you'll get 2,000 runes for free because it's alive, I guess, and you get its runes.
Really?
And then you just rinse and repeat. So I was doing that. I did that for like 15 minutes, and I got like 12,000 runes or whatever, more than that. But half of the times, not half, but a large amount of the times, I was sure that I was out of the hitbox of this ball, but it still knocked me off my horse, and I had to just do it over again. But I don't know. I think I have always seen these things about how the hitboxes are so cool to see in Dark Souls games. Like I've seen a lot of slow motion videos of people dodging out of the way of swords just in time, but I don't know, man. It's very hard for me to visually get that information. You know what I mean?
Like I can't quite work out at which point in my dodge roll maneuver my invincibility frames are, and I also can't quite work out at what point in an enemy's attack the damage will register. So I can't quite line those up just right. And so,
now, I sent you that one video. My TikTok recently has been 90% Elden Ring clips. And it does seem like there's a good skill you can get where instead of dodge rolling, you just like shadow step to the left or right. Did I send you that?
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that.
And I wonder if that would make it easier for me, but I don't even know. Well, I might try and go get that.
I think that's an Ash of War, which unless you're putting a lot of points into like mind or whatever, you may not even be able to use it as much as you want to.
I think I am, because I started as a prisoner because I wanted to get into magic, and he starts with a magical staff. And so I've been putting points into dex and intelligence, I want to say, and a little bit of faith. So I have pretty high intellect, but I have no idea.
Yeah, most of my YouTube recommends at this point are Elden Ring videos, and like I've been looking up some guides for stuff, and that's helped me like figure out some of the stuff. Like when I first started, I could not understand how like the bow and arrow stuff worked. And so
I haven't even used a bow and arrow.
Well, it's mainly, I think, for like dex build, like melee characters. So you probably won't use one, or you could get one, I guess, but it's not really what your character is sort of spec for. But I didn't quite understand how it works. You almost have to two-hand it, and so and similarly, in order to use the Ash of War on the katana that you start out with as a samurai, you have to be two-handing it. And so I didn't understand any of that stuff at first. And so just like there was just like mechanics that I didn't understand why they weren't working as expected.
It does not hold your hand.
It does not explain most of that stuff. You kind of have to like look up videos or like some sort of walkthrough or something to learn how any of that works if you've not played these games before. But I was watching one of the Min-Max episodes where they were talking about Elden Ring, and Ben Hansen put it in a really good way where he said, I feel like I am playing chess while wearing mittens. And it's just like you don't really have like, you don't feel quite like you have the fine like control that you want to have.
No, exactly.
In a lot of the situations. And I was thinking about it, and it like, because I feel like it's a little bit clunky in your movement and your attacks, because my attacks also feel slower than they need to be, and like they don't deal as much damage as they should, at least in comparison to like how quickly some of the enemies move and how much damage they do. But like, I'm sure the long time like Soulsborne people would disagree with that, because they are so well adjusted to it that they don't feel that at all. And so I think it's a little bit like walking into like a dark room from being out in the sun, where it's like, I can't see anything in this room. I don't know what's going on. Whereas somebody who's been in the room for a long time, like they can see everything perfectly. So it's just like, that's kind of how I feel playing Elden Ring. And I'll have like a session where I'll sit down and I'll play for a little while, and I'll feel pretty good. Like I'll be making some progress. I'll take out some enemies and get enough runes to go back to a Lost Grace site and level up. And then I'll like go find like a new map piece so that I can see more of the map, and that'll feel pretty good. Like I made some good progress, and then I'll jump in the next day and play a little bit more, and I will just get destroyed by everything I encounter, and it'll feel really bad, because it's like, if you take out some enemies and you collect some runes, and then you go somewhere else and you get destroyed, and you, in some cases, you're not going to be able to get your runes back, and so then you can't progress, and so not being able to progress feels pretty bad.
So are you going to continue to play it? What's your takeaway? Has it captured you at all, or no?
It has. It's one of those things where I keep watching more and more videos about it, and when I am not playing it, I am like thinking about it, and like, oh, I should try this, or like I check out a new video and it's like, oh, do this, and it's like, oh, I should try that, and so then I'll jump back in. And
that's the thing,
I'll try to make some progress, and then I may or may not have like a frustrating time, and I'll quit and be like, why am I playing this?
Again, I'm going to talk about Hollow Knight again.
Okay.
But like when I was playing Hollow Knight, I would be playing it, and then I would have to stop for some reason because it was like time to go to bed or whatever. And I would be like, when I wasn't playing it, I was thinking about it, because I was thinking, what if I did this? It would make it more fun. Or like, I wonder what happened if I did this. But with Elden Ring, I'll play it, and then I'll stop playing it, and then I'll be thinking about it a lot because I'm watching videos of it. But what I'm thinking about is like, oh, what if I do this thing, I wonder if it will start being fun, you know?
Yeah.
That's my problem, is like, the game right now is to try to get the game to be fun to me.
To make it to a point where you start enjoying it. Yeah, I can see that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is. I don't know why I feel compelled to play more of it, because I don't particularly care about the world and I don't know anything about the story or the lore, like none of that is interesting or compelling to me. And maybe it's just because it's sort of like Destiny 2, where it's just like supposedly it's there and you can watch a lore video to understand it if you want to, but like you won't find it if you're just generally playing the game. So it's not like a world that's like really pulling me in and making me want to learn more about it. So I don't know what it is that is making me want to play more of it, but I do keep wanting to jump back in and try to make more progress. But inevitably I hit a spot where I will come up against like some sort of boss that just destroys me, and I'm just like, will I ever get to a point where I can make it through this? Because it feels like right now that I won't get there.
The point that I stopped at recently, I did this like I think last night or it was the night before. I found a catacomb. It was like a mining place where like trolls were mining, and I snuck around. I was sneaking around, and I did like 2 elevators where I kept going down, and eventually I got to the bottommost place, I believe. And I opened these big doors, and there was a boss, and then he immediately destroyed me. But then I spawned at the beginning of the thing, and so I don't know. I to get my runes back, I would have to traverse down all those ways. It's not something I can run through, I don't think. Like, I have to fight these trolls. And it's just like,
well, the catacombs that
I don't want to do that.
The 2 catacombs I went into, you could shortcut it because the door to the boss room was like, you'd go down, you might have to pass like 2 enemies, but then the boss door is like to the left, whereas when you first entered,
maybe that is the case.
You had to go to the right and go like open the door, so you had to like deal with a lot more enemies.
It's possible that is the case, and I just need to go look at it again. But I was just like so defeated. I was just like, I don't want to deal with this right now.
That's the thing. Generally, when I stop playing Elden Ring, it's because I feel extremely defeated. And it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can take more of this right now. Which is unique, because I don't normally, when I quit, like when I'm done for the night playing a game, it's not normally because I just feel utterly defeated. But that is how you feel when you play one of these games.
But so many people are so into it. It's like crazy. It's like it's like you and I are from the outside looking in. We just like, we can't, it's like we don't speak the same language or something.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I watched a video of somebody taking out Margaret the Fell, which is like sort of the first big like story related boss that you have to fight in the game. And I will say, like, I initially, when I started the game, I followed the main path and I ended up at that boss, and I was like, well, I know I'm not going to beat this guy and I probably shouldn't be here, but just because I'm here, I'm just going to try it once just to see what is going on. And of course he destroyed me immediately. But then I watched a video and I was like, okay, I can kind of understand how he's dodging and stuff like that. And so maybe I can see this boss is maybe not as hard as maybe I initially thought, but I don't know. I haven't actually gone back to try it yet, but
I have seen that there's like a spell that is probably very high level that you can get. That's basically just like a Kamehameha, that people just like wreck bosses with, but
yeah,
you probably have to have like the highest intelligence to use that. And
yeah, I keep getting these videos recommended to me of like, oh, use this OP thing, and I'm like, oh, I need that. So I click on it to watch it, and they're like, okay, so after you finish the final boss, I'm just like, okay, this is not helpful.
Defeat this giant ogre, and then you can do it.
Defeat this incredibly difficult boss, and then you'll be fine. Say, oh, I need the thing to beat the boss, though.
Now,
no, I was watching.
Conversely,
what's his name? Dan Tack of Game Informer. He was streaming the game on his personal Twitch channel, and so I was watching him play because he's a huge like Soulsborne guy, and he has this like frost stomp ability that basically destroys everything, including every single boss that he encountered, to the point where he was like, this is broken and they should probably patch this. And I was like, I have seen to get that.
I saw another TikTok video where a guy was like, this will get you 1,000,000 runes in 1 hour. And the way you do it is you have to go to this super high level place, but you have that frost stomp or some other like big AoE that expands outward from you. And then you kill these like little minion guys, and you basically just do that over and over and over again. And it's like the best farming that someone has found right now. And you do get like thousands and thousands and thousands of runes in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
But first you have to get to that super hard place, and then I don't even know how you get that frost stomp.
I did also see, and it's something I might try soon, is I saw a video. It was another one of those videos it was not by Boomstick Gaming. I forget who had done it, but it was like that, where it was like, this is how you can get pretty OP early on in the game. And it was like, you can go to this area and find this thing that's like a consumable that makes it so that you collect more runes. Like it like doubles the amount of runes you collect for like a certain amount of time. And then you can like go to this like teleporter that will take you to this area, and you just run past a boss and don't trigger him so he doesn't attack you. And then you find this enormous dragon that's like lying down. And if you go around behind it, the smaller dragons that are in the area with it can't attack you. And so you can basically just stay behind it and just like chip away at its health until it is about dead, and then pop that consumable and then kill it. And once you kill the giant dragon that's laying down and can't get up, all the other dragons also die simultaneously. And so that nets you like, I think on its own it's like something like 50,000 or like 75,000 runes. Geez. And then with the consumable popped, obviously it doubles that, and so you end up with just an enormous amount of runes. And then you can just level up a whole bunch from that.
But again, like if you do that, will it start making the game fun is my question. You're still gonna have to play that same combat.
Yeah, that's the question. Is will I adapt enough to the combat to the point where it starts feeling good and not frustrating? Is the real question. I don't know. Like I've been back and forth on it. I wonder how much of it is when I'm in the overworld. I am pretty much always on horseback. So when I encounter enemies, I'm not fighting them like boots on the ground. I am like swinging at them with my sword from horseback. And I wonder how much of that is like limiting my ability to adapt to the combat, because a lot of the kills I'm getting in the overworld that I'm using to collect the runes to level up is happening from horseback, as opposed to like actually engaging with the actual like combat mechanics that I'm gonna have to use to beat bosses. So I'm wondering if maybe I'm hurting myself by doing that, and that when I see enemies I should just hop off the horse and fight them normally. But
yeah, I don't know. Just to get a feel for it.
Yeah. So I have not gotten to a point where I am good at the combat or that it feels good, but there's just something about it that makes me want to try and want to eventually get to the point where it does feel better, or I adapt.
I agree.
To it. I can't explain what that thing is, but it's there.
Should we talk about something completely different?
Sure.
The Kirby Demo.
Should we go the exact opposite? Something super easy. Actually, before we jump into that, let me say, because I have come from playing Horizon Forbidden West, which I have not finished, by the way. That game is also somewhat the exact opposite in terms of like open world and how it handles things. Elden Ring tells you nothing, and you don't understand anything, and you have to look up guide videos to understand even like the basic mechanics of the game. Elden Ring is the exact, or not Elden Ring, Horizon Forbidden West is the exact opposite, such that it's almost too much, where like you'll be walking around an area and like a new objective will pop up, and Ayla will literally, like, as if, you know, in a loud, you know, internal monologue, she'll be like, I should do this. And like, yeah, I understand. Like, I saw the, you know, checkpoint or whatever. It's almost too much. If there was like some sort of in between Elden Ring and Horizon Forbidden West, that would probably be ideal. But
the sweet spot.
Yeah. But anyway, we can talk about Kirby now.
They dropped a new trailer, but also a little demo you can get on Switch right now. And you and I both played all the way through it, correct?
Yes.
What did you think about it?
I enjoyed it. Like, again, coming off of having played the soul-crushing Elden Ring, this was like a breath of fresh air, whereas I will say I was actually a little bit surprised by how difficult the like boss that you fight in the demo, like at the last, I think it's the last level of the demo.
What power up did you use?
I think it was the sword one where you like throw out, I don't remember if it was the one where I attack with the sword or the one where you throw those little blades that circle
the
around.
cutter.
Yeah. But I got to a point where I almost wondered if getting rid of my power and just sucking up those stars and shooting them at him was maybe the better way to go.
Yeah, I used the ice, and that was pretty cool because if you did it long enough, he would like fully freeze,
really?
And then it did like a bunch of damage. Like he would break out of it, and it'd take like a quarter of his health.
Ooh. That's what I should have done then.
I really liked it too. It is not Super Mario Odyssey,
yeah.
I have to say. It's not as open world and like free flowing. It definitely is courses. It's more like Super Mario 3D Land kind of.
Yeah.
But with a little more of you running around. Like there is a little bit where you can like go on rooftops and things. And it's possible, based on that other trailer they released, it's possible it does open up a lot more in other areas.
Yeah, the areas are definitely
where you are
not
just like going
as
around.
big as Super Mario Odyssey. But even those were like level based. It was still like, well, this is just a level that you're going through. They just made them large enough that they felt a little bit more open worldy than they actually were.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah. I really liked it. I think I am going to get it when it comes out. I haven't pre-ordered it or anything, but I thought it was pretty easy, but also it was so easy that my girlfriend could play it. So it was fun to, this can be a game where we can like swap back and forth, which is rare.
Yeah.
But I came away with it a little, I mean, I was a little bummed it wasn't fully like a Mario Odyssey style thing, but still pretty impressed with how cool it was.
I'm in a similar boat. I kind of wished it was a little bit more Super Mario Odyssey than it was, but I also liked it anyway. So I definitely think I will pick it up and play it, and I will probably enjoy it. And there, like, each level has like a bunch of hidden things to find as well, so that will maybe keep me engaged even if like the combat doesn't necessarily. But I'm looking forward to it. I think I'll definitely pick it up and play it.
What's the next thing after Kirby that comes out?
Well, so Ghostwire Tokyo apparently comes out on the same day.
Oh yeah, same day.
And then after that,
I have a theory.
Probably that
I'm going to talk about Hollow Knight again.
Okay.
So the 5th anniversary of Hollow Knight happened this week or this year, and so because of that, they're re-releasing some like figurines, and there hasn't really been any news for a while. There was speculation that Silksong was going to release in February of this year, which it did not. But I feel like Silksong is going to release this year, and it could be in June or July. That's just what I think. So that's something to look forward to.
Interesting. Do you think it's a thing where Summer Games Fest, they're like, hey, here it is?
That would be great. It's going to be very good, I think, is the thing. I anticipate that it will be very, very good. But it just remains to be seen. Yeah. I think I am going to buy one of those re-releases of those figurines that came out.
Well, did you want to get into what we're watching?
Yeah, I watched a couple of things. I watched Drive My Car. Did you watch that?
I have not yet, but I want to watch it.
It's on HBO Max. It's good. I liked it. It takes place in Hiroshima, which I have not really seen a lot of, but they go to some cool areas, and it's very picturesque. There's a lot of cool jazz that plays, and it's a very melancholy movie. It did not hit me super emotionally. There are definitely some beats where I understood that things were supposed to be, pretty, not sad, but just like melancholy is a good word for it. I enjoyed it though. It's based on a Murakami book that I have not read, or it's based on a collection of short stories, I think, and it takes something from each of those stories. But
I'm a big Murakami fan, so I definitely, like, when I saw this movie was coming out, I've been, like, waiting to watch it. And now that it's finally out, for whatever reason, I still haven't.
I will say it's not my favorite melancholy Japanese movie. I'll say that.
Which one is?
I've seen a lot of them.
You weren't comparing it to something else. You were just saying generally it's not. Okay.
Man, what's that one that I saw that I really liked? Hold on. I should have had some prepared. What's that one? The Taste of Tea.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a better movie.
Yeah, I liked that one a lot, actually. I
That
think I actually bought that on DVD eventually. Because you had given me a copy of it because you couldn't find it anywhere. And so you gave me a copy of it, and I watched it, and I loved it. So years later, I was able to find a DVD copy of it.
That is a great movie, and this one is more grounded in reality. And there are some cool things that do happen in it, but and I like the ending a lot, I have to say. But it was just nothing in it really hit me as hard, and there wasn't anything that I thought was super. I don't know. I'm not really a theater guy, is the thing, and I think people who are into theater will get a lot out of this because it's like basically the production of a play that's happening. But overall, I liked it. I would recommend it. It was good. And then the other thing I watched the first 3 episodes of Our Flag Means Death, which I highly recommend. That's also on HBO Max. That's the Taika Waititi Rhys Darby thing where it's like pirates. It's kind of not in the style of What We Do in the Shadows, but it's like kind of like a funny comedy style.
Similar sense of humor.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
pretty good.
I really want to watch this because I'm a big Taika Waititi fan, and I loved What We Do in the Shadows, and I think Rhys Darby is really funny. So
he's very, very good in it, and the first 3 episodes really flow really well, and I'm very excited. They kind of lead up to a thing that I think is going to be the rest of the season, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I'm super into this. I think it's very funny and cool, and I'm very excited to continue watching it. I was bummed because like there was a while in the American What We Do in the Shadows was great to like come home to. We would make some dinner and watch that on Friday nights, and we haven't really had like a half-hour comedy show since that stopped its latest season.
Mm-hmm.
And this is perfect. It's like the exact same, very similar style of comedy. And it's just it's great. There's a bunch of little interesting side stories that I'm excited to see where they go, and they've had some cool guest stars so far. So I'm into it. I highly recommend. 2 thumbs up from Aaron.
That's cool. I'm definitely gonna watch that here eventually. The only thing I've been watching is I've been going back through Stargate SG-1 on Netflix.
Ooh.
And it makes me think of God of War because the voice,
because Teal'c?
Because of Teal'c, yeah, who's the voice actor for the new God of War. So,
what season are you on?
I think I'm towards the end of season 1, I think.
It's such a good show.
And like to an extent it has like the same like this is their version of that sci-fi episode that like everybody did, where there's like an episode that I finished somewhat recently where the main guy O'Neill like goes to this place and gets like super old. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember the Farscape version of this episode. I remember the Star Trek version of this episode.
When Sarah and I were thinking about getting a cat, we eventually got a cat that already had a name, but I really wanted to name a cat Machello. Have you gone to the Machello app yet?
I don't think so. Which one's Machello?
Machello is one where they go to this planet and there's like a super old dude there, and him and Daniel Jackson both like touch this machine at the same time, and their consciousnesses get swapped in between each other. So this super old man just becomes Daniel Jackson, is like a man out in the town, like having some fun, like flirting with waitresses wherever in Canada somewhere. But the funny thing about that episode is Machello is just Daniel Jackson in old man makeup. So, and it's very clear, especially with like the HD remaster of the show, like it's very clearly just the guy who plays Daniel Jackson in old man makeup doing like an old man voice. And And he comes back every once in a while, and like the first or second season, they'll be like, "Oh, I think Machello made this machine. Remember when we met Machello?" And I just thought it was very funny.
That is funny. So the body swap episode, because there's an episode of that for every sci-fi show as well.
There's a body swap episode. There's a Groundhog's Day episode. There's a Everyone Becomes Kids episode.
Yeah, there was a Red Dwarf episode where they did that because they had that like time wand or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like not a full like episode about that in particular. There's just a scene where they mess around with that. But yeah.
There's a Crystal Becomes My Double episode.
Oh yeah, I did watch that one.
I feel like that is a thing where like someone will be away and then something happens, and then for a while you think that someone is the real person, but then it cuts back to the original place and they're also still there, and it becomes apparent that there are two people and they have to figure it out.
Yeah, they have a double. Yeah, that happens in I think every sci-fi show that I can think of.
I will say the one thing about I think this continues on actually, but the one thing definitely about early episodes of Stargate is the resolution will happen and then it will immediately cut to black. Like it's just super fast. Like, well, what are they going to do now? And then someone will be like, well, they got to keep living. Immediately cut to black.
That's it. Oh, solution. There you go.
Solution complete.
Yeah. It was like the episode where O'Neill gets like super old. They like work out the thing. He's like, yeah, but I'm still old. And he's like, your body will revert to its normal state within a week or two. And he's like, oh, okay. And then it just ends.
Credits.
But I'm
that's the Machello.
it.
I think the Machello one is they swap back and the Machello just like dies in his body. And then I don't think anyone says anything and it just cuts to black. It's such a good show.
It's a good show. It was a different era of TV as well.
Because I think it started out on Fox, right, and then eventually moved to Sci-Fi Channel.
Did it? I feel
so like the first couple seasons were on Fox.
Really? Because there's like nudity in the very first episode.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong about that. Actually, maybe it started out on Showtime. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I can see that. Yeah, because
it was one of the ones that swapped. I think didn't Farscape do that as well, where it swapped around a little bit and eventually landed on Sci-Fi Channel. Or was it always on Sci-Fi?
I don't remember. I don't know. And I also don't recall because like syndication obviously is a thing. So it might have just like ended up there. So I don't know. But yeah, those are two great shows, Farscape and Stargate. I'm enjoying it. It's been like the thing that I'll turn on after I get off work. I'll come home and I'll turn on an episode of Stargate and I'll do my workout routine. That's pretty great
to do.
So between watching Elden Ring videos and Stargate, that's the only stuff I've been watching lately.
Trying to think of something. I think I did watch something else, but I don't remember what it is.
Oh, and I guess something that you might enjoy as well, something I've been wanting to play that I have not picked up yet, is a game called Getsu Fumiden Undying Moon. Have you seen this?
I think maybe did you send me a trailer for it?
Maybe.
I don't know how to spell that,
maybe
so I cannot look it up.
I could spell it if I had to, I think. But no, it's a side-scrolling. It's sort of like a mixture of Dead Cells and Hades to an extent, where it's like a kind of a side-scrolling.
Is it a roguelike?
Roguelike game with like a really cool art style.
Oh, it does look really cool, actually.
Yeah, I really like the art style. The music is pretty good too. I'm into it. I want to play the game. I just have not picked it up yet, and it's because I have too much to play already.
Yeah.
But it's something that I'm kind of keeping my eye on, like all those like specialty shops that like go to these indie developers that have these like games that have only been released digitally, and they'll like work with them to get a physical release out, so like limited run and super rare games and stuff like that. I like keep going through those sites to see if Getsu Fumiden will pop up on there, and once it does, I will probably pick up a physical copy for the Switch so that I can play that. But I have not played it yet. But it looks great.
Yeah, it looks really cool. The art style is really, really cool.
Yeah, it's a very cool art style. But that's it. Are we, you think that's a show?
That is a show, I have to say.
I must say it is a show. So, go ahead and follow us on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter at Starside Cafe. If you search for us on there, you'll find us. Subscribe to this podcast if you have not already, and leave us a rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.